there, Photo Universe. Alright, today we'll be talking about that there. That's our mode dial on our camera, right? Alright, so that's our new, well, we bought it used. Let's focus that. That's our new, to us, Pentax K5 original silver one. We've been enjoying that. That sports that fat grip on it, and it's got, and I have no reason to doubt it, reinforced glass on the back and the top. But be that as it may, okay, so this is really the heart of photography. If you understand this, you've got it, okay? Or you're well on your way to getting it. So on your mode dial, and like D300 Nikons, you push a button, they got a button that says mode. You spin the wheel and it takes you to, usually you get P, TV, AV, M, B, X, and then whatever, okay? So let's talk about those, and when you use them, and what you use them for, and how they work, and what the deal is. And if you understand that, like I said, you're well on your way. So what do we got? We got P, AV, TV, M, and B. Let's start with those basic ones. Let me get that in screen for you. We'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. P, TV, AV, M, and B. So the P stands for program, right? This is time value. AV is aperture value. Alright, manual and bulb. Okay? So, in program, your camera is going to pick your shutter speed and your aperture. Okay? In time value, you pick the shutter speed and the camera picks the aperture. So I'll circle shutter speed. Okay, in aperture value, the camera picks the shutter speed and you pick the aperture. In manual, you pick both. You pick both. Okay, and in bulb mode, what bulb mode does, you pick the aperture, right? And as long as you hold the shutter speed, the bulb, the shutter button down, the shutter stays open. So in most digital cameras nowadays, the longest shutter speed you can get is about 30 seconds. So if you want to do a 2, 3, 5 minute exposure or an hour exposure, you get a remote, you hold it down. As long as it's holding the bulb mode will hold the shutter open. I'll put a box around that because that's what that does. And you get to pick the aperture. Okay? So when do you use what? And this really will tell you a lot, okay? I would say most professional photographers, I said not most, not all, depending upon what they do, most professional photographers are going to live pretty much there, okay? A lot of them will live here, they'll use that, and every once in a while they'll go there. Alright, but here's the deal, okay? So what's my first choice usually when I'm out photographing? My first choice is to shoot aperture value. Okay, I get to pick the aperture, let the camera pick the shutter speed. Alright, but with one caveat, I will use exposure compensation a lot. Okay, I'll take a shot and then I'll dial in plus or minus, you know, to fine tune. One of the things I love about the Pentax K5 is that, and then Canon does it as well, and I'm sure Nikon does it, they all do it, but the Pentax is really easy to implement. The aperture value is the rear control dial, and you can set, so in other words, when you're in AV mode, right, okay, when you're in AV mode, your aperture value is changed with this dial, and you can set your exposure compensation with this dial. So you end up like moving really fast. And what that does, it gives you real fast control when you know what you want. Okay? So let's say we're photographing something, we don't know what we want. We just want to take some snapshots. We don't want to think about it. That's when we go into program mode. Or we just want to shoot some stuff and we don't want to think about it. We just want to go into program mode. So that's when I use program mode. Okay, so I'm usually living in AV mode, and I'm picking the aperture. I'm letting the camera pick the shutter speed, and I'm overriding that with exposure compensation. Not too often, but I'm doing it. When I don't want to have to think about it at all, I'll go to program mode and just let the camera pick it, whatever it's doing. And then I'll check it every once in a while if it's really freaking out, doing something wrong, then I'll override if I really want the shot. If I'm in AV mode and I really want to lock something down, so I get to pick the shutter speed and the aperture because I know exactly what I want in a circumstance, I'll go to manual. Now bulb, you know, obviously if you're taking a picture longer than 30 seconds, you're going to bulb. That's what it's for. All right. Now the Pentax series cameras have a couple of extra modes, which Nikon, Canon, I don't think anybody else does. So you've got SV and TAV. And to anyone else, like, don't even pay attention to this. And I don't really use them because I haven't really thought about them that often. What's happening there is they're using ISO as a component of the exposure, which makes sense. You can do that nowadays. So in SV, I believe you pick the shutter value, and the camera will change the aperture or the ISO to fit. And in TAV, you pick the aperture and you pick the shutter speed, and the camera will move the ISO around. And that's what that's doing. Okay. Also on the Pentax cameras, you have an X setting. That's to set the camera to your flash sync. Okay, and that's going to be whatever the highest, fastest flash sync is. And I think on the K5 it's like 1/200th of a second. So that's if you want to lock in flash sync. That's a throwback to years ago. I don't know how, you know, that's kind of interesting, but whatever. So, alright, that's Ed with Photo Universe, and that's P, TV, AV, M, and B. And sometimes you see P, S, A, and M. I think Nikon runs that way, or Canon runs that way. Program, time, aperture, manual. Or program, shutter, aperture, manual. So P, S, A, M. You know, you'll see that too. But that's what your modes do. And if you understand why you want to shoot aperture most of the time, okay, what do you use time value for? Or you know, shutter speed? That's when you're shooting sports. That's when you don't care what the aperture is. You've got to have a 500th of a second to stop the action. Okay, time value is a real sports kind of a thing. When shutter speed becomes critical, you're in time value, but you still want an automatic mode. That's what time value is for. So. Alright, that's Ed with Photo Universe. Hopefully that makes it a little clearer. And if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. Appreciate it. Bye.